got it. Gotta minimize a bit. Let's share my entire screen. All right, so let me know if when you can see my screen. Let me know.
Okay, I can see your screen.
Right. So yeah, my name is Anaya Obiajulu, and welcome to today's session, right? UX case studies, best practices. All right, so today we're going to be learning about the best practices that you can use while presenting your UX case studies. We're also going to be learning about what HR managers or what technical recruiters look out for in your case study. So I want you to sit back, relax, pay attention, because what you're about to hear right now is something that could just, determine the difference between your current role and your next role, right? Or if you don't even have a current role, it's something that will play a very good role in you getting your next position, right? So let's get into the process, right? Let's get into the business of today. Right, so who's this guy? Like, who's this Anaya Obi? Like, where did you hear about him? Like, who's this guy, Seth? So yeah, Anaya Obi is a product designer in every sense of the word, right? And he has been in the business of helping startups, organizations, and businesses solve problems using design, right? And Anaya has designed several products today in edtech, right? Fintech, entertainment, logistics, government, health tech, software as a service, and many more. I've designed several products used in Nigeria, and I've also helped a number of startups raise funds, right? Raise money when it comes to, pre-seed funding and all of that, right? I've designed products in ed tech space like Edusco, fintech space like Bufex, entertainment, logistics space like Move Logistics. I'm one of the co-founders of Move Logistics, right? Basically, we run like an Uber for logistics model, right? Health tech space like Health Stack, like Help, and several products, right? Many of the products being used, and these products are doing well in the market. Some of them are doing revenue of like 15K every month, right? I don't know what the profit is, but revenue, right? So yeah, I've worked in 4 different continents, and yeah, from right here from Nigeria, right? Working 4 different continents. I'm currently focused on building successful products for the African ecosystem, right? So most of the time you find me talking about product, not just design anyways. You find me talking about product, talking about scaling startups. So basically you can call Obi the a product designer in every sense of the word, right? So so let's dive in. Let's dive in. I promise you won't drown. Trust me. I'll try as much as possible not to make you drown, but just follow me to dive into today's teaching. Right. So one of the first things in your case studies is I'll tell you, do not fluff the introduction, right? So like any story, the introduction is like the most important part of any story. Like you want to watch a movie on Netflix, or maybe you're reading a book, the introduction is like the most important part of that movie, right? And if for me personally, because I don't have so much time on my hands for movies, right? But anytime I watch a movie, just that introduction, if it's just, but I won't watch it, trust me. I don't care about how the middle is, right? So the same way it is for books, right? And the same way it is for your case studies, right? The introduction sets the stage to a great deal of context on that will enable readers to understand what this project is all about. So you have to be very, very particular about the introduction, right? You need to provide like some salient details that HR managers will be looking out for. So when I'm looking at the case study, right, the introduction, aside from the hero image or whatever the image is, right, I'm trying to look out for what user problem are you trying to solve, or did you try to solve? Now, more importantly, you need to state your role on that project. We know that there's a lot of collaboration in the African ecosystem, or in the ecosystem and the tech space globally, right? Developers work in groups, right? Designers work in groups, and that's why Figma is a very awesome tool, because it solves the problem of collaboration, right? So we want to really know your role on that project, right? Right, we want to know, okay, what did you just do 2 screens and tell us that you're a product designer on the project, right? Because a lot of people lie these days, and it's something that we'll come back to, right? So what tools and methods did you use, right? What tools did you use to on that project? Did you use Google Documents, or did you use Figma, or you use After Effects for motion and stuff like that? And then you need to highlight like the major insights, impacts, and metrics related to that project. Now, so this is one of the most important parts. So when you're trying to do an introduction, you need to like give people insight and metrics related to that project. For example, now, I want to design for the fintech ecosystem in Nigeria, right? And maybe I want to design for savings, right? A savings app, right? That helps people to save. Now, this is, I mean, I'm using savings app because people are familiar with savings, right? Even though many people don't save, right? So for example, I can just say, okay, the fintech ecosystem or the fintech market or the remittance market or the financial market in Nigeria is what maybe $72 million, and then I quote the source, right? And then fintech consists of 38.5% of the Nigerian tech ecosystem. So you're basically like showing them that, okay, there is a market in here, right? And then you give metrics related to that project. For example, when it comes to saving, you can say 1 out of 5 Nigerians have a bank account, or 5 out of 7 Nigerians do not have access to savings or something like that, right? I'm just giving a generic example, right? So you give metrics related to that project. So the moment you use this, anybody that is scanning through the case study, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. Like this person knows the industry that is designing for, right? He understands the business, right? It's not just trying to do design, but it's trying to solve a problem that is inherent with a particular ecosystem, inherent with a particular sector of the society, and it's giving us insight and metrics into that particular system, right? And also one of the most important things you need to consider is the scope and constraints of that project, right? Every project, you do not have all the time in the world. Every project has scope. There are constraints, right? Especially when you're working in the startup ecosystem, right? You do not have enough all resources for your user research. You do not have all the time in the world, right? So what are the constraints of your project? What is the scope of your project, right? So you need to be able to state that clearly in the introduction, right? And this is one of the things that would keep your audience going, or whoever the HR manager or technical recruiter is looking out for in this case study, right? So yeah, so the second thing is tell stories, right? So storytelling is very important in case studies, right? And one thing about storytelling is that it makes, because we are humans, right? We always want to tell stories. We always want to relate with people, right? And if you go through, if in the Christendom, if you're a Christian, right? Some ministers, right? They articulate their messages by telling stories, by giving you instance, by giving you examples. And if you're reading the scripture, reading the Bible, right, you're reading like some stories about some people, and then you're getting to understand some things. The story is becoming real to you, right? You are able to crystallize and able to paint pictures in your mind. So storytelling is very important thing when it comes to case studies, right? Because it provides context and the scenarios surrounding the problem we are trying to solve. And then storytelling has like the ability to provoke emotional responses, right? And it's really helps your case studies, right? So for example, right, let me give you an example now. This is an example of storytelling. So maybe I'm trying to like get in the introduction to my case study, I'm trying to give like a story. So I say Ade is a 23-year-old software engineer who freelances with foreign companies. Ade often experiences issues with receiving payment from his clients, and this has made Ade very frustrated. Even when Ade doggedly finds a way around this problem, sourcing a way to exchange his money to local currency at good rates still possesses a major problem for him. Now, looking at this story now, this is a short story, right? This is a short scenario, but I'm sure a lot of us have been able to relate to this particular problem. Give me an emoji if you can relate to this problem. Just give me an emoji sharply so I will know if I'm communicating here. I want to check the chat. I like, feedback when I'm, teaching. Awesome. Okay. Some people can relate to this. Some people collect money, and then okay. So like with this particular, story, right? Like with this scenario that I've just painted right now. Oh, sorry. Close. With this scenario I've just painted, a lot of people are able to. Oh, wow. So this guy's trying to find a way that is trying to solve this problem. I'm sure you already pictured that day in your head, and some people you are picturing yourself as that day already, right? So, storytelling is like it's a very important way to communicate your ideas when it comes to writing of case studies. All right, let's go to the next one. Now, use numbers appropriately, right? I spoke about numbers, right? So when you're trying to write your case studies, you must be able to use numbers appropriately, right? So using the right numbers in your case studies it gives recruiters the insights that you understand this industry that you're designing for. So some people like they design product for maybe logistics, or they design product for maybe healthcare, and you don't even know what the adoption rate is like when it comes to designing for healthcare. You don't even know what percentage of the healthcare market do we have in Nigeria, or what percentage of the biggest shareholder in the healthcare space, the big guys like Helium Health, the big guys like Reliance HMO, like how much of that market are they holding, right? And then when you're trying to write a case study, you must be able to articulate these things properly, because it gives, and these are some of the things that differentiate junior designers from senior designers, right? Because senior designers, they understand the industry, right? They understand the industry, and they're able to give appropriate numbers. So using numbers appropriately, it gives you insights, and gives the recruiter insight that, okay, this guy understands healthcare in Nigeria, this guy understands fintech, right? He understands about the regulations in fintech, right? So you can just say something like, according to the WHO, 1 out of every children in Nigeria die before the age of 5, and this is as a result of DASH, right? Also states like the numbers during your research. So things like how many participants did your user interview. I see some people, they do case study and then they just interview 10 participants, and then they now use that data because you do use 10 participants for your case study. That's enough for you to make a conclusion about a particular space. So give like numbers, the number of people that filled your forms, the surveys, and don't lie about it, because people, they lie. Showing this text with, and it's really, really sad to see, right? So make sure you give numbers appropriately. Right, so some of the things like you said, analytics or data or usage data, right? When it comes to that sector, the analytics, the numbers, right? Market research, right? Of internal business metrics. So things like the market research, when it comes to the fintech market, logistic, healthcare, education tech, right? Maybe you're trying to design ed tech, and then you're looking at how many young people can afford a mobile phone or a tablet, right? Because most of the time, ed tech solutions in Nigeria, they are delivered via the web or via a mobile app or a tablet, right? They're delivered over the internet. So you're trying to look at, okay, how many Nigerians, have a mobile app, or how many people can afford that, right? So you're trying to look at, so these are some of the things, right, that you need to be able to analyze by using numbers appropriately, right? So let's go. So understanding your user. Now, I've seen a lot of case studies where I read and then I look like, this guy doesn't understand people that he's designing for. You're designing a product for user. You say you are trying to solve a problem because your case study is supposed to attempt to solve a problem, right? But reading like and the users in this space, right? When you're doing a case study and maybe you're designing a product for users in Nigeria, right? Or you're designing for a particular sector. Say you are design an edtech product. Now, the people that afford edtech solutions are major people on the middle class, even though in Nigeria now there's no middle class level, right? Right. Those are the people that can afford that kind of. So you need to really understand the user maybe the user you're trying to design for is a busy parent, right? So I designed EduSchool, right? And the people that use EduSchool are people that are over 40, right? That's the parents, and then the school owners are like 60 something. So doing that kind of design, that these guys don't have time, like they don't want to stress. And it can be very annoying, especially when you're trying to carry out usability testing and you're like, why can't they see this particular button? Who are these guys? Like, can't you just see? Right? So you need to be able to understand the user that you are designing for, right? And you need to be able to identify the target audience. So who are these guys? Like, how does this problem affect them? Right? So what key insight do you have about these users? How busy are they? How long will they spend on your product? There are many products that, especially fintech products, they don't expect you to spend too much time on them, like Facebook and social media, right? They just expect you to spend like a few seconds of them, use it and carry out your action and then close the app, or except you're the type that do transfers a lot, right? There might be a lot of information to cover, right? When you're doing like trying to understand your user, right? But make sure it's very precise and concise. Like make sure it's so don't just write too many words about that, right? Now, another thing is like show your process. Now, so I've seen a lot of designs, a lot of case studies where the process is not well articulated, right? So the design process is super important. One of the problems I've had with a lot of product designers is that, okay, on your portfolio, you have 4 case studies in different sectors, designing for different personas, and then your process is the same thing for every one of them. How come? Like how? Like you're designing for logistics, a B2B product, and you are still using the same design process that you're using to design for fintech, a B2C product, like to customers. Like how is it the same? Like it just shows that a lot of people are not able to articulate their process properly, and they're just copying and pasting what is there. And the design process is not linear. It's not that from there you define, from there empathize, define, prototype, test. No, that's not the way it is. In the real startup ecosystem, it's things can get, things can get really, really simple or get very complex. So articulate your process properly, right? So you need to mention things like the collaborations that you may have made during the project. Was there a copywriter, responsible for the work? Did you do the research by yourself? Right, their product I've designed, and then all you provided was a product requirement documentation or a feature requirement documentation, and then I did, just minor competitive analysis, and then, move to high fidelity design straight up, right? So you need to show us your process. It's not every time that you lie to us that you did wireframes before you did the high fidelity design, right? It's not every time that you tell us that you went to the market to conduct market research on that particular product, right? So tell us, like, did you work with a copywriter? Personally, I like working with copywriters when I'm developing my landing pages, right? Because it really helps me a lot, and I really like that. So I feel like information informs design, right? So show us your process, articulate them with us properly without lying to us and giving us bubble, right? So yeah, so tell us the different steps you took in your project, how you took those steps, right? Did you, the questions that you asked the stakeholders, like, when you were doing your user research, right? The usability testing, the wireframing, how you mapped out your customer journey, right? And more importantly, show how they translate to the high fidelity design. So here's the thing, right? I've read a lot of case studies that the research is like one side, and then the high fidelity design is like one side. The research and the high fidelity design is not correlating at all. Like, it's like they did research one place just because, like, they're already through with the high fidelity design. They already know what they want to design. For example, I want to design a savings app, and they already know, okay, this is the way savings apps are designed. This is the way. Let's just find one research to back up the savings. And you find out that at the end of the, when you're reading the research, it's not correlating, right? From your research, users are saying they don't like this. You are looking at your empathy map. So how does this translate to features in this product, right? How does your empathy map? You're saying what users feel, what they say, what they do. So how is it on this particular product now, this research that, or this conclusion that you have made, or this conclusion that I can see evidently, how does it translate to the high fidelity designs? I don't know if you guys feel me. Give me an emoji if you understand what I'm saying. Just give me an emoji. I like getting feedback while I'm, teaching. Sorry. Yeah, I just want to see. Okay, I got loads of people. Yeah. Nice one, nice. Okay, so yeah, I'm sure a lot of us can relate with that. People, you get to see case studies that, okay, this is the high fidelity. How does this research? It just looks like, and in fact, one of the somebody sent me a survey in a survey link one time, and I looked at the survey. I was like, I told him that, he said that, bro, you are trying to force me to say that you need an app for this particular solution. At the end of your survey, the decision might be, we don't need a mobile app for this. It doesn't need it's a simple solution that doesn't need a mobile app, right? So you don't need a mobile app for this particular solution, right? Sometimes some people write surveys, and then after the survey, they already know what they want to achieve in mind. Their goal in their mind is to design the mobile app for this. It has to be a mobile app. And then they now coin the survey to, that's not the way things are done, right? They now walk back and start, and their questions are not open-ended. They want you to, many of the cells that you're supposed to fill, right? They are not there. They just want to, and then they now collect that data, and they now say that we've designed the mobile app to solve the issue of going abroad, something like that. So I feel like it's something that we should look at, right? You must make sure that your research translates to the high fidelity, it translates to features, it affects your customer journey and the high fidelity designs and your wireframes, right? Don't just do research one place and then your high fidelity design is one place, and it's very disconnected. And as a senior person who has reviewed so many case studies, I can tell that this guy is just boboing us, he's just lying. I mean, definitely in interviews, I'll ask you and I'll tell you, right? So yeah. So yeah, it's also important to mention the collaborations, like how many people worked on this project, right? Don't lie to us that you're the only person that worked on it. If you work as a junior designer on the product, tell us. Nobody's going to bite you because you work as a junior designer on the project, right? Everybody starts from somewhere, and there's nothing bad about it. All right. So another thing is that it must be scannable. Your case studies must be scannable, right? So the truth is that most recruiters, they receive high volume of applications, especially for junior roles and mid-level roles, right? And so they don't have all the time in the world to read your case studies, right? So you must design in such a way this is where accessibility comes through, right? trying to, okay, I've been talking about accessibility, design for accessibility a lot these days, right? So your case study must be scannable. I must be able to scan with my eyes on the case study using the F or Z pattern. Let me show us an example of a case study that that I know like is really, really like scannable that we can look at. So now look at this. This is a particular case study, right? And it's a really, really nice case study, right? So looking at this case study, I can easily read through the case study. I can look at this portion. I can, if I want, so it's divided into paragraphs here, here, and that. So I can look at the problem and look at, just read the challenge swiftly, and then I see the approach, and then doesn't contain too much text, right? I'm not saying too much text is wrong, but you need to know the people that you're designing for, right? So this is very scannable. I can see text here and I can see 3 lines. It's divided, so everything is not choked up, and the font size, I've seen people design case studies and the font weight is too small for HRs to read, right? It's too small for them. So your case study must be scannable. Like it must be easy, very easy to scan the case study, right? Very, very easy. You can just go through it in a GP and you can scan and know what this particular product is all about, right? So your case study must be scannable. Don't just choke up text in one place and just do things the improper way, right? So yeah, I just showed us a link to Pineapple.design, a design agency, right? So let's get to the next one. So I'll use good visuals and mockups, right, in your design. So I reviewed a somebody's case study recently, and then the case study is awesome. Like you did a lot of research, a lot of documents went into the process, a lot of documentation and stuff like that, right? So but the major problem, right? I saw he didn't design the case study, just like maybe he had spent some more time on the case study on the research and everything. He was just tired, and then he just presented it shabby, right? So you should design your case studies, right? Design it. Like when you're done with writing the case study, now design the case studies. Use mockups that are very good, right? I can give you like links or inspirations to agencies. Like I like looking at agency work because agencies are very good when it comes to visual design, right? So you see the way they present themselves, things like Kubato Design, Pineapple.design, Netrix Digital. These are like top class design agencies. BB agency, Check DC Nigeria, Fourth Canvas. These are guys that when it comes to their visual presentation of their case studies, really, really awesome, right? So take time to design your case studies, use good visuals, use GIFs and videos, right? You can use if you're good when it comes to some motion design, like you can use videos, you can use GIFs when it comes to presentation of your case story. So this is like a case study, right? And then this is look at the way it's presented, clean. The visuals are really strong, and it helps like the HR managers or the recruiters. It attracts them. They are looking at your text content, the challenge, the solution, and all of that. And then they're looking at, okay, if you're good at motion design, you might want to play around with motion design here and there. It kind of attracts people looking at your case studies, right? So make sure you are able to use good visuals, present your case studies properly, design the case studies, right? Take your time and make sure it is well designed, right? So yeah, that is that about that. Let's get back into the slides. Okay, so another thing that you have to do is what are the outcomes of the case study? Now, so always state the results of your case study and be very sincere in this part, right? Don't lie about the results because we seniors will always know, right? So did you hit or miss or surpass the goal set? Some typos here, part of my typos, right? What was the outcome? What outcome did this project have? Did your landing page get a fantastic conversion rate? So what are the outcomes of this case study? So for example, if you are trying to solve a problem in fintech, and you tried, and then the startup did not launch, tell us that you failed, that this is the result, like you guys tried to solve this problem and you couldn't solve it, or you couldn't raise funds, or the stakeholders went another direction. In fact, there was a product I designed, spent 1 month designing that product from October, I think 1 month or 6 weeks, designing and developing. It was a very fast paced stuff, and then we pushed live and we tested with about 1,000 users. And from the feedback we got, we had to do like an entire view of a lot of the business model and everything, right? So when I wanted to write the case studies, but the case studies just love for recruiters alone, right? When I was writing the case studies, I put everything and told them that, okay, from the feedback that we got from users, right? That we got from users, we had to change the business plan from changes that we saw in the market, right? And what people perceived our product and our brand. So there was an entire rebrand, and now the product is doing well in the market at least, right? There's an entire rebrand of that product and an entire like 360 of the entire business model, right? So what are the outcomes? What outcomes did you surpass the goal? For example, let's say your goal in the beginning of the case study is to create adoption of Web3 products in Nigeria, right? How has your design been able to solve that problem, right? So now, another thing is usability testing or feedback, right? So if you have a usability test that was carried out in the entire course of the project, please, state the result of that usability test, right? And also if there are stakeholders input, because most of the time when it comes to true design in real life, when you're designing product, there are people that it's not just your ideas on that product, right? You might be the product designer, but then you're not the only one. Your product manager, most of the time, will have inputs in that product, what the product should look like and feel like. The stakeholders too would have input. So tell us about this input of these guys into that particular product, right? Tell us about their inputs, like what did they like? Maybe they didn't like one screen, like they didn't like the way this feature is coming out, right? Tell us, we want to know, right? Because we know that hiring for a full-time role or for a job, you will be working with these kinds of people, and then they will be definitely making inputs into your product, right? So do well to include it. It shows that you are open to business goals, how open you are to, factoring business goals and user needs into your design. So another thing that you should include, right, in your case study is a very good practice, is the takeaway or conclusions. Like, let prospective employers or recruiters, let us know what you have learned from the project. Whether you did something, whether it goes according to plan, or or there was a bad process in the case study, you did something that they didn't like, right? Or something didn't go according to plan, or maybe you were supposed to interview 40 people. And at the end of the day, you ended up interviewing 20 people. Tell us, right? So what insights have you gathered along the way of the case studies? What do you know now? Like, when you're researching into some space, maybe you're trying to design NFTs, like looking at NFT space in Nigeria, you're trying to, do a case study on that, right? Maybe you're trying to do a comparison between maybe Coinbase and OpenSea, right? Their NFT platform, or you're trying to, adopt NFT, like adoption of NFT for Africans, right? And you're trying to write the case studies on that particular product. And in that particular product, you're looking at different things like, you're looking at different African NFT product like Clip, you're looking at Heads by BNXN, things like that, right? So what insight have you been able to gather along the way? Like, what are you going to do now? What are you going to change? Did you learn a new method during the case study? How did your own design improve the situation, or did it make you worse, right? So for example, you can say things like this in your takeaway and your conclusion. Like, during the research phase of this project, we found out that 25% of users preferred the original method presented by our solution, right? And this 25% did not meet our expected goal or expected target of 45%. Hence, we optimize our process and iterate more solutions. This is a very honest takeaway from the case study, right? Well, we know that not every a lot of, in fact, in startup ecosystem, like 90% of startups fail, right? So, and they fail for different reasons. So it's honest for you to just say, okay, this was the result of this particular case study or this particular research. So tell us the takeaway and conclusion from the case study, right? It's very important that you do that. So now this is my own conclusion, right? So my conclusion is that you're narrating a tale about your work to prospective employers when you put together a very good case study. And now these procedures will help you present your UX design abilities in the best possible way. Like, a fascinating case study is one that has been well written, and with few of these case studies, you are sure to land your job right away, right? So improving, like telling stories through your design, not fluffing the introduction, using analysis and metrics where necessary, presenting it in a very good visual manner, right? Giving us numbers, using numbers appropriately, telling us the outcome of the study, and making your case studies scannable and showing your process in your case study is something that will lead to it's something that will definitely land you your next job. And one thing I'll tell you, especially when you're trying to, it depends on your case studies usually depend on the market you're targeting. You're targeting Nigeria, you can design product that, a lot of people are building in Nigeria, maybe like case studies about fintech. There are lots of problems in fintech products, right? Maybe KYC and onboarding process. You notice that in many fintech platforms like Go Money, the onboarding process is just too long and stressful, right? Or minting, or you you notice that the problem, like maybe KYC verification in one particular product, and then you are trying to redesign or reiterate KYC based on compliance in the fintech because it's heavily regulated, right? You're trying to show us. So things like that, you can look at, okay, design for logistics, because there are a lot of logistics startups and investors are putting money into their healthcare or maybe food delivery, right? So designing for those sectors as a junior person until you get to like specialize, okay, I'm now a DeFi designer, I'm designing majorly for DeFi product, or be able to find your niche when it comes to design, right? So you can make your product like that. Or maybe you are heavy on dashboard and enterprise softwares, and you can put your case study into, focus your case studies on that, on all of that. So thank you very much. My name is Anayo Obi. You can follow me at Obi Ajulu Anayo on Twitter and LinkedIn. Just search for my name. I think I'm the only one bearing that name. Right, on Twitter, search for Obi at Obi Ajulu Anayo, or search for the boss guy. You're definitely going to find me there on Twitter. So I'm sure you didn't drown, right? So if you didn't drown, just give me a comment in the chat and tell me if you drowned in this sea of information that I presented here today. So just give me an emoji or give me a comment and tell me if you drowned or not, right? So I want to see those chats and I want to see those men. So any questions, so please ask.
Okay, all right, Obianjulu, thank you so much for a wonderful session. Now we didn't drown, we're still floating.
Okay.
And okay, there are lots of comments and we have lots of questions in the chat room. So before we go to the chats, maybe I'll have to ask some questions and I'd like to start. Now, you spoke about case studies. So I would like to ask, how do you estimate the timeline for your case study process?
Okay, so for me personally, right, there is no timeline for writing your case studies. So you have to make sure you give it your very best shot. So it depends on the kind of job that you're looking for. For example, now I've talked to recruiters at Google and talked to recruiters at Facebook, right? And I know the kind of standard they're expecting for your work, right? Your case study, right? So it can take you, for example, now I'm reworking my portfolio, even though I might never need it again as a founder. I'm already into my startup and we are making small money. So, right. So I'm redesigning my portfolio and, I'm writing some new case studies. And anytime I want to work on something, I just, time just comes in and then a new project or a new stuff just comes in that, okay, I have to put in more priority, right? So it's possible that I can use 4 months to write a case study. I might be able to use 3 weeks to write a case study. So depending on the scope, right, of what you want to do, and depending on how much time you allocate to the case study in a day, right? So there is no time. If you want, you can use 1 year to do a case study, right? In fact, there's a product that I designed, and the case study of the product is not here. I wanted to see how this product will perform for 8 months in the market, right? I did the design. I want to see how it will perform. I wanted to get key findings, right? And from there, I'm writing the case study now. And it might still take a while before I'm done with the case study and then publish it, right? Because it's a version 3.0 of that particular product. So there is no specific timeline when it comes to writing of your case studies. Just take your time and do something really good.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much for that answer. So, okay, there's this other question. So we have a whole lot, so I hope we'll be able to cover all of them. They said, so we have discovered that most design managers or hiring managers prefer to look into case studies rather than testing the candidates on whiteboard design challenges. So now I'm asking, is there a metric for measuring personal performance when it comes to UX research processes or UI design? Since most junior designers or entry-level designers don't have direct mentors to review their portfolios.
Okay. So yeah, it's one of the many junior designers do not have like direct mentors. Are there specific things to measure, right? So I won't so measure even if you know the specifics to measure yourself, you might not be able to measure it properly, right? So but things like when you're writing your case studies, right, you must be able to like how deep is your research? What is the scope of your project, right? How good are the visual presentations? Like how good is the visuals, right? What is the problem you are trying to solve? Is it like an important, because our advice is when you're trying to write case studies, write case studies of real problems that people are facing. Don't just do a roommate finding app in Nigeria. Nobody's going to use that kind of product, trust me. I'm trying to find it. No, people will not, or even if people will use the product, convince me with your research and your data that, okay, people are willing to adopt the use of a roommate finder and right? Convince me with your data, right? So one of the things that you can use to gauge yourself is like, what's the scope of your project, right? How good are the visual presentation? What is the quality of research? Like, did you just interview 2 people and say you have a case study? Nobody's, that's that's not the kind of research. But for a junior designer, maybe find 10 people, right? So how many people,
Yeah.
like, the quality of research that you, so those are like some of the metrics that you can use to, and what is the impact? What is the potential impact of that case study that you are writing, like the industry? Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. So we have another question here from Manuel. He says, how do you write a case study for a group of projects? How do you let the presupposed hiring manager know what you did in this group project?
Okay, so basically, it's as simple as it can get. You can just write a particular section, my role, right? I was the UX researcher on this project. I was responsible for carrying out surveys, blah, 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 research, and handling user research and things like that. Write it down there. Like, and also, if possible, if you see some of the old case stories I wrote back then, right, I put the whole team and their whole role. I can't work in a group and I won't tell you. I put the team, like their face, their avatar, right? So if you're presenting to another person, or you're presenting to recruiter, you know that, okay, or just put their names in case, right? Just put their names there. Nobody's going to bite you for that. We know we work in team. So write your role on the project, state what you did, right? If you're responsible for the visual design, responsible for the UX, or responsible for the brand, right? Responsible for the branding when it comes to that product. So state your role in that way. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right. Okay, so moving on, there's another question. Manuel, I hope that answers your question. If not, you can drop a message in the chat. It says, for research only case studies for UX researchers, how can they use visuals since there are no designs, just their research data, learning insight and opportunities?
Okay, so there's a UX researcher at Google, one of my friends. Yeah, so she's a UX researcher, and so you can use aside from the different documents, affinity maps, UX audits, and all of those, long documents. And UX researchers at Google, at Facebook, Google, they don't design, right? UX researchers at those companies, they don't design, they don't move frames in Figma, right? Now I said again, UX researchers, not UX designers. They don't move frames in Figma, right? They don't do anything related to moving of screens or drawing frames, right? So they are heavily done on research. So but if you are looking at UX in a Nigerian company, right? That's why I say it depends on who you are trying to push your case studies to, right? Make sure you include design, but make sure you are heavy on documentation, you are heavy on your writing, you're heavy on your process, right? And then you can just do wireframes. Wireframes is enough for a UX researcher. I mean, just do wireframes and outline. Maybe I wish I could share her portfolio, but she has locked her portfolio already. I wish one of my friends, she has locked it again. When you become, when you step up in this game, you lock your case studies and you're not finding job. You already have jobs. Jobs are finding you. So you lock it for other people. But basically, like, you can just stop at wireframes and stop at, outlining how your conclusions, right, or your research is going to affect, the high fidelity, the entire product. You can just talk about wireframes if you're really looking for a UX researcher role. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that should answer that. So there's another question. You talked about using 10 participants for research and coming to a conclusion for the need of the product. In a case of a portfolio project, how do you come to a conclusion that there is a need for the product since you can't really interview many people?
Okay, so that's why I say you have to define the scope of the project, right? And your conclusion might not be concluding. Your goal of the project might not be to find that there is a need for the product, right? So you need to be able to don't come and interview just 10 participants and tell me that all of a sudden we have a need for your own app, your roommate's finding app, or maybe you just saw 2 reviews on the App Store and you now tell us that, okay, we need a redesign of Access Bank mobile app. You can't, you can't just give us two of that. And that's why a lot of these companies, they employ a lot of researchers. WhatsApp, any feature that WhatsApp ships into, I mean, there are thousands of features that WhatsApp can ship right now. There are lots of, in fact, currently, like, for example, me now, one of the features I would like for them to ship is scheduling chats or chat reminder. Like reminding me that, okay, I've not replied to this chat, I just shared a reminder, right? But they can't ship those features until they gather enough data that, okay, users really want this feature, and if it matches with business goals. So it depends on your goal of the case study, right? What is your goal? So if your goal is actually to find the adoption, whether there's actually a need, look at the markets, right? Look at data, and then interview as many people as possible. 10 people is enough for me.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's true because okay, coming from the design aspect, I see a lot of things, and then you see someone saying 10 people is enough. Like, who does that? Maybe 100 or more, or at least basically more than 10. It's perfect. So someone said for an entry-level designer whose designs are basically frictional or doesn't have a live project yet, and as such cannot measure the outcome of the design or study, how do you represent it, or can you do away with it?
Okay, so your designs don't have to be fictional, and that's one thing I like about people. It doesn't have to be fictional. It has to represent, especially for case studies. I mean, it's case studies, not just visuals or dribble designs, right? Make sure you are trying to even if you are not the product is not going live, but make sure you are trying to or make sure you try to solve a problem like that people face, right? And case studies, not even sometimes you might not say I want to solve a problem. You might just write the case study and do a comparison of Facebook version 1.0 and Facebook version 2.0. That might be a case study. I mean, it's a case study. You're studying something, right? Right.
Right.
Or you might look at WhatsApp and you can just say, okay, improvement of so and so features on WhatsApp. That might be a case study, right? So if you don't have a live product, but trying to solve a problem that you know that users are facing, right? Or trying to solve a problem in an industry, you can't be doing fictional case study. Maybe a product that helps us to fly to Mars. Nobody's going to fly to Mars right now, except you are Elon, right? And I'm sure
Yeah.
Elon will not see your case study, at least for now. So try as much as possible to solve a problem that users are facing, right? We use a lot of product like fintech, bro. We use this product every day. You use maybe Domino's Pizza app, and then use a Jumia food, and you are finding problems in doing, there are lots of products that we see problems every day, but no, you choose to go and design an app that helps you to, I help that you to do something very funny. So try to design. There are lots of problems that people are facing in Nigerian ecosystem, the startup ecosystem. Try and solve that problem using design. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you for that. Okay. We have this question. It says, what do you mean by scope and constraints of the project? Then is it important to collaborate before we can have a case study?
Okay. So scope of your project, right? So it's possible that you are trying to design a particular product, right? And we are trying to like solve a particular problem. For example, you are designing for fintech in Nigeria. Fintech is a highly regulated ecosystem. Now, one of the scope when you're designing for fintech products is that you cannot use fiat most of the time, except many startups are already found a way to solve that problem, right? And I won't tell you the way they solve it. It's an engineering thing, right? But you should
Yeah.
not be able to use fiat, which is like your local naira, to pay for crypto, right? So that is a constraint when you're designing crypto products, right? And it has really affected the play-to-play model, P2P model when it comes to products like that, right? So that is a constraint. So if you're designing for that ecosystem, right, you have to understand that, okay, that constraint exists. And then also scope of the project. How big is this project that do you want to launch to the public, or do you want the adoption of everybody? Are you considering all the kinds of users, right? If you're designing for a product, let's say like something like WhatsApp now, WhatsApp is just used by used by users everywhere in the world, right? When we are just designing your product and then we are designing for just Nigerians. I notice now WhatsApp has added language. You can change your WhatsApp to Hausa, to Yoruba, right? So that is like the scope. It's now they've extended it, right? They've extended it to, so you have to be able to like look at the scope. What is the scope of this project, and how, and what are the constraints? Are there regulations, right? For example, now BVN, in verifying your BVN, there are basically like 3 ways to verify. Okay, let's just leave that part. Let me not go into discussing about scope and constraints behind fintech ecosystem in Nigeria. Every day they bring one policy that that puts a constraint. That's why you see, for example, the virtual cards. The reason why many startups, right, you can't just meet a virtual card. Okay, sorry, let me leave it here. Let me know. I know if I dive there, I'll go deep into many things, but let me just stop here.
Okay. All right, we understand. He said, okay, this one says, how do you work on a case study where you work for a startup and you basically do a lot of things that are unrelated? How do you tell the story in that case?
Okay. We do have things that sorry, bro, I can relate. Sorry. It's one of these that you face while you are starting out in the industry, right? You're getting your hands dirty, which is really good for a start, right? So yeah, even in stories, right, you need to tell us the relevant information, right? Tell us the relevant information in your stories. Don't tell us that one day your boss just woke up. Yeah, you might even tell us if it's relevant, right? That your boss just woke up and told you that we are changing the entire model of this product. It has happened before. Now, sure, some people
It always happens.
yeah, and then you now had to do like an entire redesign of the particular product, right? So, well, majorly tell us the relevant stories that are relevant for recruiters. Don't come and be boboing us and telling us that one day that your developer ran away and you ran away with your Figma files and you guys started. Don't tell us all of that. Just give us what is relevant. Thank you.
Okay, it says, okay, this is another question from, okay, this is Jan. It says, how do I go about a case study when I don't even have a team to work with? Should I go on doing it all alone?
Yeah, you can go all alone. I mean, you can go all alone writing your case studies, right? There's no problem about that. There's no problem about, I mean, as a junior designer, I even advise you to do some of your case studies alone, right? Because some people are lazy and then some people will delay you while trying to work with a team, right? Some people will just like delay you and all of that, right? So you can do it all alone, take your time and, deliver very good work.
Okay, so this one says case study versus resume, which is more important on getting more job interviews?
Okay, so for you, for me, the first thing that, except for more senior roles, is usually your portfolio, right? More senior because they reach out to you, they've seen your works and they've seen what you're able to do, right? For more
Yeah.
senior roles, right? They are the ones reaching out to you. But for case studies, right? For junior designers, your resume is usually the first touch point. People will know most of the time, HR manager, technical recruiters will not reach out to junior designers to hire them most of the time, right? Especially for full-time roles. But you're the one that has to apply. So your resume is I think it's more important in that case because, but then your resume should include links to your project, links to your LinkedIn profile, and things like that. So, well, your resume should be super optimized, especially for junior people, right?
Okay, all right. So this from Idris, I think you've already answered it. It says, is it important to have a live project before writing a case study?
No. Yeah, so no, it's not important. It's not important. Just make sure you're actually solving a problem. We are trying to solve a problem inherent to a particular sector, but don't do something fictional. Yeah.
Okay, so we have this question here, but I will take a part of it. It says, can you please send us links to templates we can use when carrying out a case study? Case study mood, but if possible.
Yeah, sure. I can share that with you, and then
Yeah,
you share it to the community or whoever registered for this or joined the call. Don't
yeah,
really.
I think I'll get that from LinkedIn. I'll probably message you after the class and get it from you. So I can share it on the server so they all have access to it.
Yeah, I like Pineapple's design template for case studies, but it's more visual, right? And Pineapple Design is an agency. Kuberto Design too. Their case studies are good, but theirs is like it's very visual, and the visual design can also really attract, especially for Nigerian startups, right? Uh, you need to do a lot of visuals. But if you are trying to apply for foreign jobs and stuff, you have to be heavy on your process. Yeah.
Okay, this says, can we write case studies with project prompts, e.g. sharpen prompts?
E.g. what?
Sharpen prompts.
I don't understand that.
I think like shaping prompts. Probably writing out a case study based on a prompt you get from a particular website.
Yeah, sure. As long as it's something that is relevant and it's a sector, it's a sector or something that people are interested in, right? And there is a particular target audience you are actually trying to solve that problem for. So it's possible. Just make sure that it's something that makes sense. You said when you read it, you know whether you should know if it makes sense or not, or you ask senior designers and people like is this actually something to invest your time, trying to look to solve this problem? So yeah, something that you can figure out and try out. Yeah.
Okay, I think the last question we have here says, can we do a case study for just a particular problem on an existing app, or do
Definitely.
UI designs to solve just that problem without redesigning the whole app?
Definitely, you can do that. Please go ahead and do that. There is no need to, right? I mean, you are solving problems, right? You don't need to redesign the whole app. Nobody's going to look at your redesign. If you like, redesign GT Bank 100 times, story. Nobody's going to really look at the GT Bank will not change their design until they want to change their design, right? So you can just look at the problem, right? And then just profile the solution using designs. Use their design system. Many companies will not change their design system. If you go to Google now, they will not change the design system because you discovered one flaw on their interface in the main product, right? Or you come to Twitter, you will use what is existing there. As a new designer in Twitter, you will not change stuff until the product team itself, in line with the stakeholders and the brand and marketing, decide that they want to really change stuff. So just, you can decide to just solve the existing problem and see how it goes from there. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I think, okay, we have one more question. It says, what platforms are best for portfolios apart from Dribble and Behance?
You can use Notion. Notion is a very good place to host your portfolio, right? Dribble, Behance, Notion. I think there are a couple of others that that are coming up now, even though they are not so popular, right? For creatives, right? But you can use Notion, you can use Dribble, you can use Behance. So Notion is the additional one that I think it's really cool. Yeah.
Okay. I think, okay, that's all the questions we have so far. Thank you so much, Obianjudu, for coming on this call.
Thank you. Thank God.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for your class. It was very enlightening and we learned a lot. And okay, before you go, I would like to ask, do you have a case study hack that
I didn't get that. I can't hear you.
I said before you go, I would like to ask, do you have a case study hack that you shared with the community?
Do I have what?
A case study hack that could be shared with the community.
Yeah, sure. Hack, a case study hack. Well. I mean, the case study hack is in doing a lot of research and putting in the work. So you have to really put in the work and try to basically solve a problem. Don't just do fictional case studies. People are tired of that, right? And and there are lots of problems in different sectors. I'll just say like design for sectors that, especially if you are looking for a job in Nigeria here, right? Designed for sectors that people are that are mainstream and people are actually looking for solutions for. For example, if you are designing maybe an NFT platform, right? And in Nigeria right now, or in the African ecosystem right now, it's not yet so much of mainstream. So getting a job in Nigeria with NFT products might not be so much, right? The chance might be slim, right? So it's important that you design product that people are conversant with. Right, that's one of the hacks that I'll just give you for case studies. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So thank you so much for coming on this call. Thank you for your class. Thank you for the time. So I dropped your LinkedIn link in the chat. Do well, guys. Do well to follow him on LinkedIn. I think someone else also dropped your Twitter handle, so you can also follow him on Twitter. So just one more question before we close. Someone is asking, which community is this? So Kelechi, this community belongs to Top Universe. Top Universe Africa is a platform where we train people in front-end engineering, back-end engineering, product management, and UI UX design for free for 3 months. So you can visit our profile or you can visit our website to learn more about us. Then I think somebody said one more question before we go. If I have a health tech product and health if I have a health tech product and a travel product, can I apply a job in another niche while just starting out?
Definitely, you can, right? You definitely can. Yeah, just articulate your processes properly. Definitely can.
All right. Okay, so thank you so much for coming. We'll be ending this class now. Thank you so much. So I also dropped a link to our website for those asking if you want to join our community. You can visit us at universe.org and get more info. So thank you so much, Obianjulu. Thank you.
Thank you
And
so
have
much.
a lovely evening. Goodbye, everyone.
I will. Bye.
All right. Bye.